Hey, everybody. Marriage by Design podcast coming at you this morning. It is our Thanksgiving extravaganza.
Happy Thanksgiving. Almost.
Let's get into that. Hi, everyone. I'm Nathan Warnock.
I'm Andrea Warnock, and you've joined us for the Marriage by Design podcast, a time that we get to talk to you about God's design for marriage, what the Bible has to say about that, and how we live that out practically.
And sometimes other things.
Like Thanksgiving.
Like today.
Yes.
It is Thanksgiving week
It's not
here in the
marriage
United States. And it is not necessarily unrelated to marriage, at least if your marriage is as God designed it to be. It is something that we recognize is deeply rooted in his provision for human flourishing. It is the avenue by which he provided for the continuance of the human race. So certainly marriage is something that at least Andrea and I are thankful for. Maybe more about that later. But we wanted to...
Keep going. I forgot my list. Keep going.
We wanted to come at you today for two purposes. One, I always love to give just a brief history of Thanksgiving in the United States. We have a lot of listeners and followers from countries outside of the United States who may not understand what's this really all about, this thing that the Americans do the fourth Thursday of every November. And so I want to talk about that briefly, and then we're going to do a top five today. Top five things that we are thankful for this year. It is 2025, and so that's the context in which we shoot this episode. But first, just briefly about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a holiday in the United States. It's not celebrated exclusively. I know lots of other countries have Thanksgiving, and so it's not a exclusively American thing. The United States was one of the very first countries to have this as a celebrated holiday, and so we're grateful for that. But it is a day that has the unfortunate reality of being positioned directly between two of the most commercial American holidays on the calendar.
I feel like there's a lot of commercial holidays.
Halloween on October 31st, and of course the big one, Christmas on December 25th. And then the fourth Thursday in November is Thanksgiving. And tragically, sadly, something I'm not thankful for is that in the United States, we have completely devalued Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. I mean, the 2 days after Halloween, stores were putting up their Christmas stuff. And the effect of that is that Thanksgiving really gets broadly overlooked. And man, if that isn't a analogy for the state of the United States, I feel like now. We just skip from celebrating scary stuff because it's fun, and go right to the one where I get gifts and the one where I take time to be introspective and think about the things that I'm thankful for in my life. Yeah, we'll kind of, we'll eat a big meal that day and watch football, and that's about it. And I hate it. So in Thanksgiving, the backdrop of this is, in 1621, there was a feast held between the Plymouth colonists, the new colonists to the United States, and the Wampanoag tribe, which was a Native American tribe based in the area where the Plymouth settlers had settled. And there was a feast between the two groups, essentially celebrating a relationship between the Plymouth colonists and the Indian tribesmen and women. This is an oversimplification. I understand that. Feel free to put your full history in the comments. But here is one interesting thing, and this does tie to marriage. Fascinatingly, I realized there's a pretty huge following of Native Americans in the United States that celebrate Thanksgiving as a day of mourning. And they do that because, as a lot of you probably are aware, the United States colonists ended up having a pretty rough relationship with the Native American tribes throughout the United States. And that's not, I'm not excusing it. It was the United States committed a ton of atrocities
Yep.
against the Native American people in the United States. And it's a black mark on the history of the United States. I'm not running from that. That is a reality of our history. And so I understand, and it's relatable to marriage, because it was really interesting to me to just reflect on, man, this is a day that we celebrate really the provision of the Native American people for the Plymouth colonists and all that ended up being in the United States. But it is looked at very differently on the other side. And just like so often, there might be something that Andrea is upset about that I'm excited about, or I'm excited about that Andrea's upset. We're not always on the same page, and it was good for me to spend some time thinking about it from the other side.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do love about the United States is after that celebration, the United States begins coming into its own as a society, and two individuals, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, found it deeply important that the United States would take time set aside specifically to be thankful for God's provision in this country, for God's provision in our people, and for all those blessings that God has given us. The Bible teaches us that all good things come from God. He is the originator of good things, and the originator of bad things really is our sin. And so one of the greatest good provisions of God was his son, Jesus Christ, who came down the earth, lived a perfect life, and died to rescue us from those bad things that we introduced into the world, primarily the separation that our sin causes us from God. And Abraham Lincoln, George Washington felt it was important to set that day aside. And then it kind of fizzled a little bit until one woman who had a crusade. Well, we're going to talk about the book on Wednesday, but until one woman who had a crusade followed that crusade and changed the way we looked at Thanksgiving in this country up to today.
Yeah.
And that woman's name was Sarah Hale.
Yep. She was so heartbroken that Thanksgiving was not something that we really celebrated anymore. It was celebrated some on the East Coast, but not throughout the United States. So she went on a long-term crusade to make sure that we brought Thanksgiving back.
Yeah, and there is a book we're going to talk about, a book for kids, but it's great for the whole family. We're going to talk about that on our Wednesday check-in. So make sure you follow our channel, hit the little bell icon so you can get notifications. But on Wednesday, we'll share just a quick 90-second blurb about that book, and hopefully you can go pick it up for yourselves. But she really is the driving force.
To Sarah Hale for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And it's great. It really rooted our country in this idea that we are grateful for the things that we have. That is a sentiment that must continue if America wants to be America. We are thankful in recognition of the provision that has been made for us. And look, if you're watching this and you go, well, I don't even believe in this God thing, that's certainly fine. That doesn't change the sentiment. But if you can't look around your life and be grateful, even if you're atheist, be grateful that the people you love in your life, just by some magic of the universe, happen to be born in this time in close proximity to you so that you could have relationship with them. Right? Be grateful that your children happen to have been the fastest sperm to swim to the egg, and now they're here and you have relationship with them. Like, there's, whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, we do, and believe that all good things come from him. If you don't, you still have to believe these good things came to you somehow, and you should be grateful for those things. It's that heart of gratitude that changes the way we think about things around us.
Yep.
There's a humbling consequence of that is a beautiful thing, and it's a thing that is critical to the Christian worldview and critical to the American worldview, and really I'm grateful for Sarah Hale for recognizing those things go hand in hand. So with that lead in, we are going to talk about the top 5 things that Andrea and I are thankful for going into Thanksgiving this year. So we're going to start with number 5 and move to number 1. Babe, before we jump in, any sort of parameters you put on this, anything you were thinking about or anything
and
to
mine's
say?
kind of I mean, boring, I guess you could
Oh,
say.
no.
I know, but it's the top 5 things I'm thankful for, and so they are pretty normal things. But I'll add some end notes to my thankful list.
Great. So I kind of took the opposite approach. Like I felt like, okay, like there's some obvious things I'm thankful for. And this is not the first time we've done a list similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to make it a little more like, hey, since January 1st of this year, what are things that I feel like I've come back to regularly and been like, man, I'm grateful for that. And
Yeah, I mean, I could change my list real quick and do that.
well, it's up to you.
we'll
I'm not trying to call you out.
In our little break here, I'll change my list, so it'll be a little bit more unique things then, I guess.
All right. So with that lead in, the top 5 things Nathan and Andrea are grateful for. Let's do it.
Number 5.
Okay, number 5. Now that I've redone my list a little bit.
The magic of editing.
Right. It's great. Okay. So my number 5 thing that I'm thankful for this year is homeschooling, and also the collaborative school that we use that we love, and I've realized I love even more. So this school year, we decided to leave our oldest at this collaborative school. So he goes to school there 3 days a week, and then homeschools 2 days a week. Then my other two school age kids, I kept home to fully homeschool this year. And I am thankful for that. I'm thankful for being able to do that, being able to have the resources and the time to do that.
You bet.
And also thankful that we've realized I don't like that. So it's always been this thing where I've had this thought of like, man, maybe I could do this a little bit differently to make it like just fully homeschooling instead of our collaborative school, to make it a little bit easier on our family and be able to have some more flexibility. And so there's been some really great things with it, the flexibility and being able to do things my way and that sort of thing, right? And be able to camp out on something that maybe my kids are struggling with, rather than like, oh, we just have to keep moving along with our collaborative school. So there have been some really great things, but I ultimately, all of us just don't like it, fully homeschooling. We much prefer the homeschooling 2 days a week, or homeschooling 2 or 3 days a week, and collaborative school 2 days a week. The school is amazing. The people are amazing. So I'm really thankful for that journey. I'm thankful that we still get to partially, part-time homeschool after this full homeschooling journey that we've gone through.
Sure.
I'm thankful that we still get to keep doing that.
Sure.
But all of this, that we've learned this year and that we've grown in, and certainly I've learned a lot that I'm going to take forward with us in fully homeschooling, in disciplines and that kind of thing. So, I love that I get to spend all this time with my kids. I love that I get to see them learn, and I get to learn right alongside them. And we get to spend so much more time together. So homeschooling, even though it can be a really difficult thing, a lot of days, and there are definitely days where I call Nathan and I'm frustrated and I just want somebody to hear me. Right. And
yeah.
I kind of just don't want to feel like alone in my frustration sometimes.
Sure.
So there's definitely times that I call Nathan frustrated, or that I feel like I'm at the end of my rope or whatever. Regardless of all of that, I've grown so much because of our homeschooling journey. This is our 10th year, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, that's great. That's really great. My fifth one, my number 5, is related to that a bit. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity to teach at that school.
Yeah.
I've taught there now. This is my 4th year teaching there. I teach debate class to middle schoolers and high schoolers. And it has really been an amazing opportunity, right? It's the fulfillment of something that Andrea and I have talked about for
years,
most of our marriage, something we wish would have been done better when we were in grade school, in a private grade school, in that it's one thing to talk about certain contemporary issues, abortion, euthanasia, all those kinds of things. It's another thing to be forced to really think about those issues. So I really took it upon myself, and the school was gracious enough to give me a platform to be able to teach and challenge young people in their thinking. And it's been an amazing journey over these last 4 years. Unfortunately, with my job, it's going to be one I'm going to need to pause so that I can focus in on that as my parents retire from our business, and I focus in on that for a while. But hopefully someday I can be back. And it's just been an amazing journey of seeing young people think about difficult issues and getting to see how they think and getting to play devil's advocate and dig in and challenge them. And as some of the best compliments I get are students that say, I'm glad this class at the end of the day, because my head always hurts when we finish at the end of the day. And that's what I want. I want people to be challenged. I want them to be comfortable being uncomfortable and be thinking about difficult, challenging issues. And so I wanted to put this as number 5 because it ties into another one that I'll get to here in a little bit. But I'm grateful, my number 5, for the opportunity to teach.
It's been great
at the kids' school.
Number 4.
Okay, number 4 is our Florida trip. So Nathan and I went on a business trip. Well, it wasn't business for me, but Nathan had a business trip earlier in the year, in February. And it was just the 2 of us that went. I was pregnant with Lila, so we didn't have to take any kids. And it was just the 2 of us. He had meetings during the day for 3 of those days. And I got to, we stayed at this beautiful hotel. I got to just hang out on the beach and do some Bible study or some reading and take some naps sometimes. And then when it was mealtime, I just showed up for a meal and it was ready. And oh my gosh.
It was good food.
It was great
it was
food,
awesome.
meals and snacks. And it was so fun. And then Nathan and I got a couple days after his work meetings that we just hung out in Clearwater and enjoyed time with each other. And we actually drove a day up to Orlando, and because we love Disney, so we did Disney World. We did 3 of the Disney parks, and in one day. I don't remember how many hours we were there or how many miles we walked, but it was
a lot.
I think it was like 18 miles maybe that we walked.
I think that might be right.
18 rings in my head. So we did 3 of the Disney parks. We skipped Animal Kingdom, and oh my gosh, it was so fun. And we got there early in the morning, and we left so late at night.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And we loved it. And just the time together, and such a fun memory. So I'm really thankful for that Florida trip. It was amazing and so many good memories.
That's great. Okay. My number 4 ties into my number 5. And that is, I'm grateful for changing views in the younger generation. Like, there are, specifically about marriage. Like, if you look at a lot of marriage statistics, they're changing dramatically from what they were 10 years ago. Views on divorce, the percentage of marriages that end in divorce, views about what the purpose of marriage is. These views that have sort of been spiraling down from the greatest generation to the baby boom generation, the millennial generation. There early signs, and these folks are young, but early signs is that there is changing concern about things like marriage and the family in Gen Z. And that I'm incredibly grateful for. Now, it's not all good news. We still have a birth rate problem. We still have a not choosing to not get married problem that in some ways is worse with that generation. But my point in sharing this is, and I see it when I teach, there's a lot of things that our generation and the older, we're on the old end of the millennial generation. Millennials and older, there are certain things that were sort of ingrained in us. And the church did not do a very good job of challenging those things. We as a Christian community did not do a good job of explaining these things. We didn't think very critically about things. I mean, I can take simple examples. IVF is something, in vitro fertilization is something that our generations just sort of, of course that's something we would do. And we really didn't look into what it was or ask very many questions about it. And I find the younger generation, as I bring up some of these issues without leading them, just letting them look into it, there's a lot of folks that are young folks that are asking uncomfortable questions about a lot of these issues that we sort of just moseyed into with our heads in the sand. And I'm so grateful for a generation of people that are willing to get uncomfortable.
Yep.
And that is what Gen Z, I think, is about. We sort of shuffle them off as like, well, they're just buried in their social media and their video game. And, you know, some of that is like, well, shame on us millennials and baby booms for allowing that. Like, let's challenge them to knock that off. But once we do, they want to be engaged in real experience that matters. And I'm super grateful that they're beginning to think of things other than what's important is my career, my bank account, and my...
Sure.
you know, myself. They're starting to think about people other than themselves, and man, we need to grow and challenge that in them, and I'm super grateful for that.
Number 3.
Okay, number 3 thing I'm thankful for is dates after dark. So
Ooh, tell me more.
Nathan and I have a maturing family, some of them.
I see what you did there.
Our oldest is getting older, of course, but we are able to have a lot of dates after we put the younger kids to bed.
Right.
So we put like our 4 younger ones to bed, and our 2 older ones can stay up for a little bit. But we really don't have to have a babysitter. Our oldest is 15, so he can monitor the situation around the house. But really, mostly is everybody's just in bed and sleeping, and he can call us if something goes wrong. And we have family that lives really close too that could come over if there's an emergency. But we go out after dark a lot, and I'm super thankful for the opportunity to have some fun dates and do some unique things. We just went out last night to this really great Mexican restaurant, and then to see like 76 acres of Christmas lights.
That's pretty cool.
Super fun.
Really cool.
Nathan's great at playing dates, but we tell our kids sometimes, like, we have a whole nightlife they don't even know about.
That's right.
That we do.
Sometimes we go out too. Oh, no? Oh, sorry.
There are so many things that we have dates indoors. We hang out with our teenager.
Yeah.
We do so many things after our younger kids are in bed. And
That's
I'm really thankful for the opportunity to do that. And
Even
though it can be kind of a tiring thing to be up, up late, up early, whatever, I wouldn't trade the time.
I'm grateful for our dates after dark too, but I'm going to talk more about that later in this episode.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. My number 3 is I am grateful for, and you mentioned it a second ago, so I guess this is technically a crossover. I'm grateful for our maturing family. Like this cuts both ways, because I also, just this morning I was upstairs. I read a Father's Day note that Andrea gave me. It happened to be poking out of my drawer next to my bed, probably providentially.
This last year.
And it was like the most rip your heart out note. And not intentionally. It was true. It was just basically like a series of statements of like, hey, someday, there won't be toys we're stepping on in the middle of the night. It was one of those sort of like just a reminder that time is precious, which is I'm super blessed that she gave that to me. But of course, it really stuck in my mind. And so I was in our bathroom this morning, or last night, brushing my teeth, and there were just toys all over our bath, like our big bathtub behind me. And it reminded me of that note and just how precious time is. And so certainly part of the reason I'm grateful for our maturing family is because it's a constant reminder of me to enjoy what I have, enjoy the time I have right now, enjoy, even though our youngest boy at 3, I want to shake him sometimes, enjoy that. Like, enjoy the stage he's at, because it goes by so quick, and then it's gone forever. And for us, we're not probably likely to have more children, and so now we're on the clock for like, hey, our last this, this, and being grateful for those things. But the other side of that is there's a lot of opportunity in a maturing family. I get to see meaningful relationships growing amongst our children. I get to be a part of them learning new things, even the uncomfortable stuff. Ryan just approached me last night and was like, Dad, like, I know when you get married, you have babies, but how come there are lots of like just boyfriends and girlfriends that have babies? Like, do you just, if you're together a really long time, do you just have a baby? And it was a super innocent question, but also one of like, man, I get to help form how she thinks about some of the most intimate things in life. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity and grateful for a maturing family, fearfully so, that the Lord would strengthen me and show me through the Spirit how I can do that right. But I'm grateful for a family that's moving into a new stage.
Yep.
And I look forward to that stage.
Number 2.
Okay, number 2. Second thing my number 2 that I'm thankful for is a husband that chooses God and that chooses God over himself. And I mean that in ways that are not the normal way. So Nathan is an amazing husband, and he, in the normal ways, he's choosing the Lord over his comfortability or his want to do this thing over serving his wife and his family. And, there's so many areas that he does that in, but specifically in ways that he is so good to just be the example that I need. There's lots of times that I'm sure he's frustrated with some decisions that I make or things that I do or whatever. And so often the reason that I'm convicted is because of the way he lives his life, not because of the words he says. Right? So I'm thankful that he chooses the Lord over peace at any cost with me, or over other things. And so the way he lives his life, and sometimes in the ways that he talks to me about stuff that are, it's not right and challenges me, is growing me to be a better wife and a better mom and a better friend and a better person. Really the person that God's calling me to be, because he chooses to be the person that God is calling him to be. So.
Oh, thanks, babe. That means a lot to me. He sounds like a great guy. I'd love to meet him. My number 2, boy, is it going to sound superficial in comparison to that. So the backdrop is when Jackson turned 13, which is a couple of years ago, I took him as a coming of age trip, and we've talked about this on the podcast, to 14,000 foot peak in Colorado. And he and I started at the bottom and we hiked to the top. Took us about 10 hours to get from the base to the top. It was incredibly difficult. And besides the opportunity to speak with him about some really huge mistakes I had made in my life, to kind of call him higher in his young adulthood, it also, in a much more superficial manner, made me realize I have not taken very good care of my body. And, at the time, our youngest was a baby, and I went, man, I want to do this. By the way, our youngest is still a baby.
New youngest.
Right. I went, man, in 13 years, and now 13 years from now, am I going to be able to do this? Like, physically, am I going to be able to do this? And it really made me commit a few months after that trip with Jackson to starting to get serious about my body. And I try to not, I really don't want it to be for superficial reasons. I mean, I like to look good. I like when Andrea thinks I look good, obviously.
You do look good.
But really, I'm trying to play the long game, right? I'm trying to get ahead of it before it gets really hard to make any meaningful difference in our bodies, because we're just old. And so my point in saying that is I've realized in talking to a lot of much younger guys at the gym, there's a lot of guys that are much younger than me whose fitness journey is inhibited by health issues. And it made me this year in particular so grateful for my health.
Yep.
And I just mean like joints that work correctly, bones that are strong. Like I know this sounds superficial, but I just have realized like, man, I'm grateful that the Lord has cared for taking care of my body the way that he has, protected me from just the realities of the grind of the world. And I don't ever want to take that for granted because I know how time works and my body's not always going to be this way. And that's okay. Like I'm willing to give that over the Lord and I don't want it to become an idol. But while I have that, I want to be grateful for it. And so it's kind of one of those things it's easy for us, we live in kind of a fitness generation, those millennials and younger, like this is self-care and fitness and all that kind of stuff's like what we do. And, but also I've been convicted this year that yes, I've worked hard. Yes, I'm careful about what I eat. Yes, I go to the gym a lot and like try to make that a healthy discipline. But at the end of the day, it's the Lord that is providing me that opportunity through my health. And I don't want it to look as something I did, but as something he has allowed me to do. And I don't ever want to not be grateful for that. So my number 2 is my health. But also I pray that the Lord continues that so that I can be there for my kids and grandkids and all the rest. So grateful for my health.
And finally, number 1.
Okay, number 1. I am thankful. Now this is gonna be probably not surprising to the listeners, I guess. I'm thankful for Lila.
Aw.
We had our 6th child this year in May, and she was a massive surprise to us.
Yeah.
And I'm still wrapping my head around having a 6th child. That was not on my bingo card.
Yeah.
And so I was really, when I found out that I was pregnant, I struggled with that for a long time. And I don't struggle with it in a different way, but that was hard to wrap my head around. And so but even with the, surprise of having a 6th child and then the shocking, happy surprise of her being a girl, we were really shocked by that. I'm really thankful for her. Our family just kind of rallies around her.
Yep.
And our family
That's
is
a great
closer.
way of saying that.
I think because of her, and I've never seen that happen in our family before with our babies. Our family loves babies. So it's not that we haven't been obsessed with babies before. There's just a different type of obsession with Lila.
Yep.
And she just brings our family closer together.
Totally.
And that's really fun. And she's a great baby, and she's, of course meant to be in our family. And so I'm thankful for her, and I'm thankful for what God has done in my heart through having Lila. It's really hard to trust the Lord with your family size as you're getting, well, at least for me, as I was getting a bigger and bigger family. That was really hard and I didn't trust the Lord with that, and I still don't think the Lord knows what the heck he's doing sometimes.
It's just honest.
But regardless, I'm so thankful for Lila. I'm thankful for the pruning that God has done in my heart through that whole process.
Totally.
And through, having to shift a lot of things around, and still shifting, and just what he does in our family and in our hearts and in our thoughts through something unexpected, but that is a blessing. So sometimes things that we don't think are a blessing turn out to be a blessing because of how they've changed our lives in hard ways, So I'm thankful for Lila. That's
great. That's a really good one and really transparent. I appreciate that. Okay, mine. In about a month from 5 days ago, Andrea and I will be celebrating our 20th anniversary.
It's crazy.
20 years together. That is, I mean, that's, for some reason, that feels like a big number
I know.
to me. Up until now, it was sort of like, I felt like a young married couple.
Still feel like that, but
Well, sure, no, I still feel like that.
On
but
paper,
you
it
look
wouldn't
at
be
the
that
number
way.
and you're like, 20 years? I mean, that's, like it struck me when we reached a point where you and I realized we'd been living together longer than we'd been living apart. Like, that was a big thing. We'd been living together longer than we lived with our parents, I guess was the better way of saying that. Because we're just now reaching the point where we've been living together as long as we really lived with our parents.
As we lived apart. Almost. We're getting there.
Yeah. So fascinating. But 20th anniversary this year. And there is something about being together for 2 decades, and I'm sure I'll say this again at 3 decades and 4 and the rest. You really look at younger couples and realize, man, you haven't even started to scrape the reality of the blessing that marriage is.
Right.
And I don't say that as a put down at all. Like, we say it as an encouragement to young couples. Like, I look back in our marriage and realize how foolish I was in a lot of the things I thought was important for a lot of years. I also realize, man, there isn't an aspect of our marriage that I don't look at and go, man, we have really leveled that area of our marriage up. Like, I feel like there are,
praise the Lord.
Like, your marriage, you sort of like, we think it's going to be like a gradual, it's just going to get better and better and better and better and better. But really, it's like, almost feels like stair steps in marriage. Like, you reach a certain area where you think, okay, we've arrived as a married couple. And then you realize through adversity or through the conviction of the Lord or whatever, this isn't even close to where the Lord wants us to be. And then if you humble yourself and submit yourself to that, the Lord lifts you up, and then you think, oh man, now we've really, and then you get lifted up and you think, oh man, now, and it's every area. I mean, there isn't like, emotionally, I feel like Andrea and I are figuring some things out that we didn't know up to now. Like, sexually, our relationship is so much more fun and unique and all of those things than it's been in the past. Like, we just, all of these different areas, marriage truly is the example of aging like a fine wine. If you
take care of it
and really submit it to God's design for marriage. And so I wanted to include this because this is never not the thing I'm most thankful for outside of God's provision in my life directly through Jesus. Like, apart from salvation, Andrea is the thing I am most grateful for. But I really want to make a point of saying that on this podcast is marriage is something that is designed for your flourishing. And if you're looking at your marriage and you're going, well, it's not for me, that's not a problem with the design. That's a problem with the execution. And I get it because we've been there, but it doesn't have to be like this. And so take that time to humble yourself, to submit your marriage anew insofar as you control it to the Lord, and continue to try through studying the scripture, through prayer, through podcasts like this one, to figure out what is God's design for marriage and how can I further submit my marriage to that design, living in the promise that because God is for marriage, He's for your marriage, and that's a prayer that He'll always answer. And He certainly has in our marriage, and I'm deeply thankful for that, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what the future holds for us.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. A little bit of a longer episode, but I'm grateful that you stuck around if you did. Hopefully this has inspired you to think a little bit about what are you thankful for this year going into Thanksgiving. And I would challenge you, share those things. Like, sit down with your spouse, put together, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, or your fiance, and without looking, say, write down the top 5 things that you're grateful for and go back and forth and share them. You'll grow in intimacy with your partner or your family member or your children. If you want to do that with your children, you will grow in closeness with them as you learn more about the things that they're thankful for this year, and you'll build a discipline that's important of being thankful for the things, the good gifts that we have received. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comments section below. Shoot us an email, marriagebydesignpodcast@gmail.com. We'll answer all those that we receive. Until next time, have a very happy Thanksgiving. And remember, God is for your marriage.